And hello, good morning, everybody. Good to see you. Paul here, going to get started with today's pro tips. Random movement in After Effects, but also from a graphic designer's perspective or a designer's perspective. So yeah, what we've done previously is work in Illustrator. So now we're jumping into After Effects. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for that, Annika. So yeah, so excited for this because I think After Effects is the X factor when it comes to design. So this is going to be a lot of fun. So welcome, Monica. Stoney's in the house. Frank's here. Steve. Awesome, guys. So let's go ahead and I guess we can get this party started, shall we? Shall we get this party started? Hey, let's do it. All right. Let me switch over. And just keep in mind, Friday I'll be answering a lot of questions as well on Discord. So yes. Fantastic. Jack's in the house as well. Hello, Jack. All right, so here's kind of just a simple design, right? Might want to make it move around or dance. I'm just showing you a graphic that we have in Illustrator that I could bring into After Effects, okay? A couple different ways to do this. Honestly, you're just going to do a file import, or you could actually just drag and drop the file. I like doing things like a little bit more visual, but here's my file. I can merge that into footage or bring in the whole composition. I'm just going to leave the defaults, and there it is. So it actually imports this lovely Illustrator file, which is great because it's linked back to good old Illustrator, right? Which is awesome. So don't really need that. I have a larger scene right here. I just given it a little bit more room, but there's our graphic, okay? And like I mentioned, if I edit this in Illustrator, I decide I want to do something different with any one of these elements, whether it's like rotate it. So I'll just do a little rotate just so you can see it happen, rotating that sideways. And reload footage. There we go. We've just changed that. I've reloaded it. Let's fix that again. But I do like that. So just a quick way to easily bounce. You can also jump in here. And from this point, you can always reveal in Finder sort of like where your files are. What happens if I double click? It just opens up that particular file. I really wish it opened up in Illustrator though, by the way. But the thing there is there's other tools that kind of solve that. So if you're interested in a good workflow between Illustrator and After Effects, I'd use like something like Overlord, which will push all your graphics into After Effects and then back to Illustrator, FYI. So it's pretty cool. A little shout out to them. Just so you know, I get nothing. I don't get anything. I don't get perks or anything from anyone. Just so you know, in case you're wondering, I don't get perks from anybody like for doing shout outs. So now you know. All right, so here's my lovely file. Ooh. Oh, Command E will open it in AI. Let's try that, Ricky. Command E. Okay, boom. Thank you. Hey, we're all learning something today. Thank you, Ricky. Ricky's going to be the guy who really has the go-to answers today, which is awesome. Command E. Come on now. Why is it not in here? Or am I just missing it? Command E. Edit. That works with Photoshop files. I guess I totally forgot about that. Thank you. Command E, super easy. Control E on PC. But here's I have my file. I can have this kind of like bounce around, do different things. Usually that means going into your properties down here and adjusting the position. So this is what you might do is you'll move this around from here to here. You'll jump at the timeline. You move that over down here, move that there. You get the idea. I just want this to kind of create a random positions is what I'm doing. And you'll just end up doing this. This is our life in After Effects. It's moving that around. So it looks like it's kind of random, but it's not random. So yeah, Frank knows the scoop. Let's wiggle it. In fact, delete all those keyframes, right? Don't need those right in here. For any one of these properties, option click right here. You see that note? It says option click to add an expression. So option click, turns it red, says, hey, I'm ready to have an expression added. So we're going to do this. Yeah, let's wiggle it. Wiggle. So type that in. There's really only two words you need to keep in mind: random and wiggle. Those are the main ones for moving things around. And they served kind of different purposes. Wiggle will always bounce, sort of take it from one point to another point. The first value, I'll just hit enter since I get that little code hint. The first value is going to be per second. So I could say once per second, move it 200 pixels. All right, it's going to move it 200 pixels in the X and the Y. All right. And if I did it right, we could see it kind of moving around in the X and the Y. Let's make this a little bit more fun because it's moving so slow and I'm losing viewers because we don't have enough action on the screen. There we have our movement. It's kind of dancing around. Frank just said that's the only expression I know. I hear you because honestly, that's the one that most people use. I mean, if you've gotten into coding, then it works out great. Hello, Froja. Good to have you here. Fantastic. Okay. Sweet. All right, so that kind of bounces around. Let's move it a little bit more drastically. We'll bump this up to, say, 400, and I wish I could make this font larger. There might be a way, actually, in preferences, but we could see that kind of dance around the screen like so. We do this for a couple other properties, like rotation and opacity. It's all going to work the same way. Option click. We could take this one that we've already written since we spent so much time on it. Copying it, paste it, and for rotation again, do we want it to rotate 400 degrees? No, maybe like 20 degrees. Where is it going to rotate from? Well, you're going to find out in a second. It rotates from the center point, right? So if we take a look at that object right here, let's move this up. We can see the center point right here. We could use the pan behind and put that right down there, and now we have it moving from, at least rotating from that center point. So anyways, I'm just adding a couple of these, and then we'll get into some other examples too. Because this is fine. You know, this works out pretty well. It's kind of dancing around. Let's move it down into frame, because essentially what's happening is it's moving it from the current position 200 pixels to the left, to the right, and then vertically up and then down. So that's the dancing that it's doing, and it's doing a little bit of a wobble. Correct. Okay. You could always take expressions, and hey, this is just a little like JavaScript. We could comment that out. So if we don't want to actually move it around, but we just want the wobble, right? We could see that working, doing its thing. Okay. All right, so this is looking pretty good. Let's throw a kink in our plans, shall we? We'll comment this out. We'll bring this back. Why is this throwing an error? Sometimes you'll get errors. So this says undefined value. So it doesn't know what to find in there. Could be out of range. Anyways, let's go back to this. Oops. Let's go back to this one, because basically what's happening is kind of moving around. I want to actually adjust the size. So let's do that really fast, because we kind of run into an issue. And this is, Frank knows this. When we work on the scale, or at least I think Frank should maybe know this. This is what happens. We'll do this. And actually it's not bad. It's really stretching it out a lot. Look at that. Ooh, 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 ooh. It's actually not bad. I kind of like it. How many expressions are there? Too many. If you're curious, window, help, expression, reference. So here's your reference for this. I'd be happy to help you, just so you know. And let me move myself to the other side of the screen. There we go. So yeah, here's your expression language reference. I usually do a Command F and search for, random or wiggle in this case. We'll search for wiggle. Here's the wiggle method right down here. Here we are. Here we go. frequency and the amount it's moving and the octaves. I don't know anybody that uses octaves. I would love to get into that, but again, this is just a pro tip and not a super duper long tutorial. So I don't think we have time to get into that. Plus, I don't know anybody who uses that. Anyways, what randomly shakes or wills the value of the property, right? So that's your reference. Just do a search on that page because it's all here. It gets super long, just so you know. All right, but this is what happens. We have this craziness, and I've changed it some. That's kind of cool. I like how it actually is distorting on the X and Y. But what if you don't want it to distort on the X and Y? Right? That gets to be another issue. Right? So we need to get into writing a variable and putting it in there. Because basically what we need to do is we need to say, hey, don't independently manipulate this X and this Y. So I could put that content in brackets if I want to. In fact, let's do this. We're going to do this. I'm just going to create a variable. The variable is going to be called wig. It's going to be equal to the wiggle, which might just be the same thing. And then we're saying, hey, take just the value of the first number. So just the scale, the X scale. Okay, so just make that the X scale. So now what we do below is we take that variable and we'll put it and make the X and the Y that same variable. Right? So this is the X and this is the Y. It's dynamic because it's wiggle. It's pointing only to the first value because of that 0. Right? And if I've written this right, we'll hit play and it will do a whole lot of nothing. Oh, I forgot my colon at the end. Semicolon at the end. There we go. So now it's not distorting it. It's scaling uniformly. This is just absolutely huge. This is something you only write once, you copy it, and you paste it into Evernote. Okay, so that's what I would do. Just hold on to it. You only have to learn it once. Just add your references, add your little code hints right in here. You know, like I was just explaining a second ago, a variable that is wig, which points to a random, well, not random, to a wiggle of the X value, the first value. That's what's happening there. Probably could have said that differently, but we have uniform scaling. That's huge. That's your pro hip for the day. Yes, Frank, copy it, paste it, all that good stuff. And Froja, thanks for joining me on Facebook too. Cool. I could see it making a flickering candle. What a great idea. Anki, what a great idea. I think that sounds kind of cool. So what if we like modified the colors? You know, and we're kind of creating an abstract kind of candle type object. So let's just, again, play this. It's kind of doing this thing. It's still a little drastic. Maybe we'll make this 50. So it's scaling it up and down 50%. Every time I stop the playhead, watch. Stop the playhead. It's at 101. Stop the playhead. It's at 94. Right? It's only doing it in 50%, you know, 50% positive, 50% negative. But let's make it flicker. How would you do that? Well, how I would do it is I would actually go in and use something like color balance. We'll drop a color balance effect onto it, right? Because anywhere where we see the stopwatch, we should be able to add an expression to it. So for saturation, maybe it just like, maybe the saturation changes like that, kind of bounces between, you know, 60 degrees and negative 60 degrees or something like that. So that's all I'm thinking. Right? So that happens to be the hue wheel. So we'll go in here. We'll hit Option click, add our wiggle. How much do we want it to wiggle? Yeah, let's have it flicker a lot. Twice per second. And do 60 degrees in the negative and positive. We'll hit play. And now it's flickering 60 degrees either direction. right? Isn't that kind of cool? Super fun. All right. Just checking. Awesome. Thank you for that, Annika. Sweet. So this is super fun. Yeah, you could use this for anything. Like, let's take this hand, for instance. I also want to pick this apart, right? So here's a file. It happens to be a Photoshop file. It looks just like this. It's in Photoshop looking that exact same way, right? Has all these layers. Wrist, thumb, forearm, center fingers. I thought it'd be really cool to have these all kind of like dance around or kind of like maybe get disjointed. That's kind of the idea. But they're all going to kind of move around. So it's going to be kind of fun, right? So we'll do that. I feel bad because there's already motion to this. And maybe we'll just do this really fast. Super easy to do. We'll take that hand. Heck, let's do this. Import. Composition. Okay, so here it is. I just imported it. Here's everything. Nothing's happening right now. I can make this finger right up here dance, which happens to be the pointer. But I'm going to do it a different way. So check this out. We'll still animate the position randomly by wiggle. We'll have it move just once per second and just do 100 pixels X and Y, moving that position around, right? So watch what happens. We can see that little finger dance around. Wait for it. Moving around 100 pixels. It's moving quite a bit. But what I wanted to do is like, what if I don't want to go in here and control each one of these numbers, typing that in? I find it helpful to jump in and add expression controls. This is really cool. So we can add a slider control. Here's my slider control. I'm going to make this slider control. I'm going to double click or just hit return, and I'm going to call this the sort of distance. Right? The distance is going to be set to 21. But what you want to do is go down to that wiggle, right down here, with my cursor placed right there, I have this pick whip. And now I can point that to my target, which happens to be this slider. Boom. It adds that in. So now, rather than manipulating these numbers, I have this nice slider that I can just scrub on, which makes my life easier. Another thing I can do is I can add another expression slider control, and this will be for time. Do the same thing. Cursor, pick whip, point, 2. It doesn't matter. We'll hit enter. Sorry, this rendering is taking a while. So now it's moving around. But if I want it to move more drastically, I can just scrub this slider up. We'll double the time. Now we'll watch it. It's moving a lot. That's all. That's all that's happening here. Using these fun sliders just like helps out a lot, I think. So yeah. Just makes it a little easier to control, because all I need to do is nestle that away. I could put that away, and now it feels like After Effects, Illustrator, where I just have sliders to control things, makes things nice and easy. Let's go to the crazy version that I've kind of already worked on. You ready for this madness? Stuff is moving all over the place. It's a little nuts. Let's try it again. There it is. Everything is moving around except for that pointer We'll take a look at it. It needs that position wiggle added. And the cool thing is I already have this set up. What's this point? Point. Do your thing. It's pure chaos, is all I'm saying. All right. All right, super fun. Now, so what I've done is I've taken a design that I already did in Photoshop and I just like brought it to life using an expression, just using wiggle. Maybe what I can do with the background is add a shape layer. And maybe cycle through a bunch of colors. Here's my shape layer in the background. Here's my color fill for that particular shape layer. We'll just change it really fast, but what I want to do is add an expression in there. This time I'll add random. Now random will, you know, really only needs one. It could have a minimum and a maximum value, but we'll just type in 100. And we're just going to see what happens, actually. I don't even know what's going to happen at this point. Nothing. Because color should take 4 values. That's the problem. It should take 4 values. Let's just try this. I don't use it that much because it doesn't, like, it makes everything look a little bit too crazy. 4 values, not 5. All right, so let me go to this example, for instance. Since I'm running out of time, let's go into this star. We'll go into the fill color. And expand that down. There we go. All right, so essentially you created an array for color 1 and then color 2. That should be the minimum and maximum values from 0 to 1, increments of those. This is the minimum, this is the maximum. I could copy and paste that code, but essentially you could see it kind of go through all these colors. Maybe useful, or it could cause people seizures. That's the reason I'm not too crazy about it, but I do want to point it out. Thank you, Frank says, you can use the hue and saturation filter for that. No, exactly right. That's exactly what I would use. It's just so much easier, and you get the smooth transition from one color to the next. It's kind of like I did over here. If I show you just this pure chaos. Oh, let me show you one more example. I have to show this to you because this is so much fun. Here's pure chaos going on. Everything's kind of moving around. But what I think is special about this one are the flowers. So let's take a look at the flowers, which are right in here. These lovely flowers. And look at this. Right in here, I use the puppet pin tool. The puppet pin tool will allow you to move this pin around, but I said, hey, you know what? Let's add an expression to it. As you can see right here, just to wiggle it. Maybe, you know, just 20 pixels. And now, if we take a look at that, we could see it's just randomly moving as if it's like blowing in the wind. Again, just showing you the power of the wiggle. creating randomness, because doing this by hand would just be such a pain. And the great thing is I could do this for all of the properties, all of these pins. Let's see where this second pin is right there. Option click, paste. Maybe it moves less. This one moves more. And now we have both of those flowers moving around. I mean, come on now. Isn't that a great idea? I love it. Randomness, one of the hardest things to do. And yeah, it's moving a little fast, but just to give you that example of what's going on. All right. Super cool what you can do. So thank you, Froja, Umacorn, and everyone. I see you, Muriel. Sorry I did not catch all those comments, but I see you there. Thank you so much for joining me. So stay tuned. There's going to be more coming. Actually, tomorrow I'm going to get into drawing lines using After Effects. So going from Illustrator to After Effects and sort of creating those lines. So super fun. And you guys should join me for that. So thanks for hanging out. Don't forget on Friday, be answering questions, posting some of this code to Discord so you have it handy. So you guys get the idea. So thanks so much for hanging out with me. I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye.